have caused so many problems for Mr. and Mrs. America. And we're beginning to find out some of the deals that were done. We're beginning to see how they themselves undermined us every step of the way. And now they're all playing dumb, conveniently, as nobody knew. Nobody knew. Wasserman Schultz, she didn't know anything. Hillary Clinton didn't know anything. Barack Obama didn't know anything. Nobody knew nothing. I mean, who are you working with? Who's in charge here? I mean, whose Justice Department was it? Loretta Lynch had no idea. The FBI had no idea. The FBI did have an idea. The Barack Hussein Obama fully well knew what was going on, and Hillary Clinton, she did too. And believe me, they're going to be combing through every single email and tidbit of information and informants that have brought the information out, and a lot will be revealed. Now, Marco, he's come forward, and a little confessional. And you know what? A little confessional does a heart good. Marco Rubio, yesterday, he himself has flatly denied his presidential campaign was involved at all with any type of opposition research, and especially Fusion GPS.
I don't know who it was. The one thing we do know is that this thing about the dossier that you're discussing, all those press accounts, and I'm just going off press accounts, they all make it abundantly clear that the work that Mr. Steele did on that dossier didn't even start until April or May or June after the Republican primary was over. So that was the DNC and that was the Clinton campaign. And as far as whether it was my campaign, it wasn't, and I'll tell you why, because I was running for president, I was trying to win. If I had anything against Donald Trump that was relevant and credible and politically damaging, I would have used it. I didn't have it.
Well, listen, every campaign does it. It's just the nature of politics. Yeah, and I think he was right. If we had any dirt, if we did anything now, his investigation, if he was investigating, if he was digging up dirt, whether it was through a law firm or another organization such as Fusion GPS, yeah, it would have been good information. But he didn't have anything, clearly didn't use it, just there was a bunch of name-calling, et cetera, et cetera. Listen, the Washington Post on Wednesday, they reported that Hillary Clinton and her presidential campaign and the Democratic National Committee Party funded the research. It led to the controversial Trump dossier, but the initial report about Fusion GPS by the New York Times reported the research started at the request of an anonymous Republican. And there's Rubio basically saying that, look, this is not me. You can't point to me. You know, I'm out of this. I guess he was asked a question, so, you know, they wanted him to comment on it because he was one of the presidential. But mine is free. We didn't do that. We wouldn't do that. But we know who did it. We know who's involved. We know the players. And it's, JFK, this is huge news for anybody that's lived back then in historical perspective on what happened, who shot JFK, were there other nefarious players, other governments, what happened? It's a mammoth of long-awaited trove of secret files of the killing of President John F. Kennedy. And is there going to be more intriguing insights into the events surrounding one of the most infamous assassinations in history? What is it? 2,891 records that's going to be released through the National Archives with raw intelligence, uncollaborated, and they were almost certain to reinvigorate rampant conspiracy theories about the November 22nd, 1963 slaying of JFK in Dallas, Texas. An outlandish CIA plan to recruit the mafia to kill Fidel Castro. The FBI's foreknowledge of the plot to murder Kennedy's killer and Kremlin suspicions of a homegrown right-wing conspiracy were among the highlights, even as some files were withheld for further review on national security grounds. Here's one document from 1975 detailed how the early days of Kennedy's presidency of the CIA offered $150,000 to Italian-American mob boss Sam Giancana to organize the killing of a Cuban leader, as we know as Fidel Castro. Giancana, in return, sought the CIA's help to place a listening device in the room of his mistress, a Las Vegas entertainer, which he thought was having an affair. Then other possible ideas to kill the communist leader said to be a keen driver included contaminating his diving suit with disease, causing bacteria, or body trapping a seashell with a bomb. And then that plan was scrapped when it was determined that there was no shell in the Caribbean large enough to hold a sufficient amount of explosive. I mean, I'm telling you, there's a lot of theories over the years related to the Oswald ties to the Cuban or Soviet operatives. This FBI memo, 1963, indicated Kennedy's death was a source of deep mourning in the USSR. According to a source, officials of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union believed there was some well-organized conspiracy on the part of the alt-right in the United States to effect a coup. And the Soviets feared the killing would be used as a pretext to stop negotiations with the Soviet Union, attack Cuba, and thereafter spread the war. And then there's the call to the UK, where the press was alerted, and this was kind of interesting tidbit of information that I thought was kind of interesting, that 25 minutes before JFK was assassinated, there was a phone call made to the UK, and they never found out who made the phone call, but that was kind of eerie, saying to call the U.S. Embassy because there was going to be big news. That's what was being said. So that's new. Yeah, not everything is going to be released. There's security fear. I don't know what about this many years later. But interesting that not all the files are going to be released. It just kind of makes you wonder. And for those that believe that there's something more that meets the eye than Lee Harvey Oswald, the Marine, why he would do such a thing. There's many people that think he didn't act alone, that he was set up to do this. And then he got killed. I mean, he didn't go get old Sparky. He got killed in the the courthouse there in Dallas. Got shot to death. So there's conspiracies about that and who shot him and who told him to shoot him and yada, yada, yada. So you're going to have to wait several more months until all that stuff's released. But you got to know something, that the when they say all, there's not everything. And what they're going through right now, they're doing what they did to the UFO stuff. There's black magic marker, or they're just going to leave out those pages. Government's not going to tell you every single tidbit of information. It's just not going to happen. That's why the FBI begged Trump not to release the stuff, all the stuff. There's got to be something more. The FBI with the Soviet Union, wouldn't be surprised. There was definitely stuff going on in Cuba. Oswald, was there in Cuba, apparently wanted to become a citizen over in Russia. And I think he went to the Cuban embassy and wanted to become a Cuban citizen. And I think they denied citizenship to both of them. So that was kind of odd. So when they have this Cuba connection, and then that weird phone call, 25 minutes, like somebody else knew. Who made that phone call 25 minutes before? Like Lee Harvey, who's up there in the tower there. He making the phone call on his brick. I think there's definitely some conspiratorial elements, and I'll just say at that. And I understand why people have different theories, and there's people that were on the ground saying that they heard shots coming from different places, and the way that people have studied this thing, they said that the sound off buildings, people misjudged where it was coming from, kind of like. And I wasn't there in Vegas, you know that. Well, I'm telling you I wasn't, but there was people that did not know where those shots were coming from, and they were looking everywhere else but that building. They supposed that's why so many people got shot. They didn't realize the fire was coming there from up there. That wasn't the first place they looked. They were scouting out, looking around. Where? Somebody on the ground. No. 30-something floors up there, the Mandalay Hotel. I'll tell you this, for anybody that lived through this, I was born in 1970, so in 1963, I was just a glimmer in my parents' eyes, all right? So, but I know people, and my own parents that went through that, and that was a very sad day. I mean, Walter Cronkite, he cried on the air. News reporters cried. Grown men. We're talking, men that gave the news, okay? They cried on the air. It was just so sad, and it was a very sad day for America. And the Eternal Flame, I visited that during school trips to Washington, D.C., and it made me curious. It made me interested in why somebody would do something so terrible to, and it did affect the psyche of our country. And some believe that JFK and Bobby Kennedy, they were, the Kennedys, man, they were shot. A lot of them were shot, killed. You know the story. That they were really going against the tide, too, kind of like how Trump is in some perspective, against the mafia, against unions. And a lot of people think just because of the hard stance there with Bobby, the attorney general, and cracking the whip. And believe me, the Democratic Party was a lot more conservative in so many ways. I don't think JFK would recognize the Democratic Party. I don't even think he would be associated with the DMC as it is now. I think he'd be embarrassed. And anybody that invokes JFK's name on the Democrats that act like the way they've been acting and stealing things and abusing things and fabricating things and pushing this country in this leftist crazed Hollywoodish way is costing us dearly. We're soon enough, if it goes back into the hands of a Marxist traitor, kind of like Bergdahl, i.e. Barack Obama or Clinton, there's never going to be an America left. There's definitely a plan to destroy this country, and it's happening from within. And our founding fathers, they predicted it. They said if the fall of America, they didn't believe it was going to come from foreign invaders. They said it was going to happen from within. The very leadership in Washington doing it to themselves. And that's why I say, man, we got an opportunity to take our country back. We have an opportunity, and that's why Republicans, and I'm so glad that the House Speaker came out and said, look, we got to do something. And Rodney Carrington, he has something to say about all this on a Friday. All right, sing it, Rodney.
In recent years, this country's gone to hell. And the crack's getting bigger on the side of that Liberty Bell. Well, Clinton, Obama, and the Democratic crew sure did a number on me and you. It wasn't my vote, you can blame yourselves for that. But we got a chance to turn things around if you get your butt up off the ground and understand we're all gonna have to work. This big old country was built on sweat, and if we're gonna make it great again, you're gonna get wet. But the first things first, we all gotta vote for Trump. Vote for Trump.